Hi, welcome to the Artificial Intelligence podcast with Dr. Ziggy. Today's guest is Ryan Connolly. Ryan is an aspiring sci-fi writer. Why aspiring?
Well, got to get something published first before I'm not a...
You've been an aspiring writer for as long as I've known you, which is...
Oh, we're 15 years. Are we? Pretty much.
15 years. Okay, so there comes a point where
we'll get there.
Where you stop being an intern and you graduate to some kind of a low-level position in a company. So why are you still an intern?
Yeah, it's just finding the time to write.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's kind of been, a habit I've been trying to build up, especially the last few years. It's just between kids and boring day job of being a lawyer and all that kind of fun stuff. It's slowly getting there. And the thing I thought would be interesting to talk about is because I've tried to kind of keep up with the market, and obviously you need a product before you really get out into the market, but it's good to kind of keep on top of things and just see how things are changing and where the openings are at. And I guess AI is making waves across a lot of industries, and even if we maybe don't need to worry about it killing us all eventually, like some people are.
Not me. Those that watch my videos know that no way. That's a lot of hype being fueled by CEOs of massive companies that are making the big ka-chings at the moment. So that's definitely not my take on things, but yeah, you're right.
It's definitely
it is a disruptive.
That's it.
It is a disruptive technology. There's no doubt about it.
And
writing is a big thing, right? So I'm a teacher, I'm an educator, and all my assignments are now AI generated, right? I can't have any written assignments unless they're written in class and I monitor the students, or my only other option is oral exams. That's it. So yeah, writing is a massive thing that has been disrupted by AI. So that's why I'm kind of interested to hear your take on this, because you have been kind of wanting to make it into the sci-fi scene. Hence, how has all of this changed, and perhaps your strategy has changed, or perhaps you've become discouraged or not discouraged? Give us a rundown here.
Yeah, well, I thought it would be interesting maybe to start like kind of the arts more generally, and then maybe kind of zoom in where I'm looking at. But like one thing I've been following a lot is how it looks like AI may or may not be disrupting, say, like the movie industry and so on. So I'm just really impressed at kind of the level of quality you have. So many videos that are produced using AI.
Yeah.
And I think
you're talking about like the Sora, the short snippets.
Yeah, Sora.
Okay, they're only short; they're not full length movies.
No, I know that, but I'm guessing it's a matter of time, maybe before. Yeah, no,
maybe.
That's the thing. Like I just to give an example, there's one blogger I follow, a guy called Steve Skojak. He's into a lot of different topics, but one of them is AI. And, he was posting videos by, say, a guy who was using, it wasn't Sora, it was one of the earlier ones. But essentially
it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it was to, basically just produce like a trailer for a sci-fi movie.
Yeah.
And, this was like a 3.5 minute trailer, and the production values were just incredible. Yeah. And I think the thing is,
he stitched them together.
That's it.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of one of the big things. I think what I'm seeing is AI in the arts works as long as you have kind of a talented, skilled human kind of directing it. You can't just say, give me a 3-minute movie and expect something good to kind of come out. Like if you look up, say, AI generated movie trailers on YouTube, there's such a range of quality. There's the ones that just look like they're spitting out random nonsense.
AI slop.
But complete slop. But then if you get someone who, I guess really knows what they're doing, has the video editing skills,
has a vision.
Exactly. They're able to kind of apply that, and they have the patience to kind of go through a lot of iterations and go through a lot of prompts and refine their prompts. They are actually able to do a lot that in previous generations would have been done by hiring actors.
Totally, yeah.
Or, you know,
graphics artists.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
so like say this guy had a 3.5-minute clip and he said, you know, it took him like 48 hours of editing, stitching together, choosing the right clips, getting the right prompts and so on. And maybe it cost him like a couple of $100 or whatever in just the credits that you spend.
That's pretty impressive, actually. 48 hours to get a nice length video out for that price, yeah.
Yeah, and then I suppose if you think about it, you compare that to the amount of money that goes into VFX for like big Hollywood movies. So, I mean, you're right. Can we get to a point where it's like full length?
Yeah, if you stitch it together like that, but it's... You'll have to direct it very, very strictly, and the context window, to use a technical term, would have to last to some degree.
That's what I was kind of thinking. Like, if you wanted to have...
That's why I went, wow, this stuff is so expensive at the moment, and to have a context window that size, I can't, at the moment, I just can't see it unless you really get some breakthroughs.
So, like, by context window, do you mean kind of like managing to maintain the prompt? See, like, say, for example, I was thinking... is this guy going to be able to have the same characters for a 2-hour movie?
Yeah. So it's like remembering what it's already done.
Yeah.
So it doesn't bring in new things like different tone of voice and things like that. So it can remember all this kind of thing. Now, obviously, if you have scene changes and stuff like that, maybe you can ditch some of the past contexts that you've used. But yeah. But anyway. So
yeah. So that's just kind of an example. I mean, I've seen things like where they do short commercials that are 1-2 minutes. I don't know. Did you see that fake one, Puprin? No. It's like a fake pharma ad, and it looks perfect. It's a 2-minute clip, and it's all these people talking about this new antidepressant called Puprin, and you take it, and a puppy appears.
Okay.
And like it's complete nonsense concept, but you can't, like, the quality is good enough that you can't really tell. They're not actors. They're not, you know. Yeah. And again, you need someone who's editing it, but I think it's disruptive in the sense that maybe you have to pay for that compute. Maybe you have to pay credits for like a very professional AI model, not like the free to use ones, but you're cutting out the actors and actresses. You're cutting out the camera crew, the lighting, you know. It's just coming down to the AI and the person editing it. Yeah. So I think that's kind of the way it's disruptive in that whole area. And actually, like, there's an interesting thing just recently. I don't know if you've seen, but there's this Dutch company. I think they're Dutch. I have to look it up, but they basically brought out their own AI actress.
Yes, I saw this. Yeah. I think a company wanted to buy it as well, the rights to it.
Yeah, that's right. The colour, it's Tilly Norwood, I think is their name for her. And
I can't remember.
Now, this is the interesting thing, and this will tie into the kind of the writing and so on as well. Yeah. But like, there's a lot of backlash to that. And like, I was talking to our friend Ben about this, trying to figure out, is it going to be disruptive or is it really going to change things? And I mean, his view is there's a lot of big players. Like, if you think about the George Clooney's of the world or the Tom Cruises, if they start to push back, they do have a bit of weight. Yeah. And I think it was the Actors Guild in the US went on strike about 2 years ago.
2023.
Yeah. And it was one of the big things was,
protection from AI.
Exactly. Technology. Yeah.
So they can't clone the voice and use it and pay you less money, etc. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of what so a lot of the same figures involved in that were, I guess they were just, you know, voicing objections to, you know, this AI actress that's going to come kind of replace them, or at least that's the hype around it. But it's interesting, there were kind of two kinds of criticisms. Like, some people who said, you know, we don't want this. We need to kind of keep our human industries run by humans. But then there's the other kind of criticisms of people saying, you know, this is never going to catch on, or this is never going to work. And I suppose I wonder how much, you know, it mightn't work just yet. It mightn't be able to replace, you know, a movie star just yet, but kind of given time, given enough advancement in the technology, will we get there? And will kind of the executives' desire?
Yeah, I mean, considering some of the trash that gets put out on Netflix and all that, like, nobody watching that is going to care if it's AI generated or not. the analogy that I'm thinking of is like theatre. That's, you go there to see actual real people give an interpretation of some profound work, profound art, and you immerse yourself in that kind of aesthetics. That's slowly kind of dying out because we're not encouraged to, we've lost the sense of the beautiful and the aesthetics. So I kind of think in that sense, if you're looking at shallow stuff, I think, you know, if the technology keeps improving the way that it is, yeah, I can see AI taking over that kind of slop series that you see on cheap TV shows. But there is still a significant proportion, like you're saying, of society that will want to see real actors.
Yeah.
You know, the good actors, the Al Pacinos and the Robert De Niros, work their craft, you know, like The Godfather, you know, that's the first thing. Marlon Brando was just so good. I want to watch that movie just to see him act, because I know that's a real person acting versus an AI. So it is I think it's a toss up here for sure.
But then I suppose it becomes this thing where, like, one analogy I've seen used is like, will kind of high art, like books written by humans, movies made by humans with human actors, become kind of like the artisan kind of product, kind of like you've got your beautiful handmade furniture that people will pay a lot of money for.
Yeah.
And then you've got the furniture that's kind of churned out in factories and sold in IKEA. So
this is exactly, I just interviewed Kieran O'Reilly. He's an actor, well-known actor, and this is the exact example that I gave, where handmade versus industrial made, and people do pay extra for the handmade, but people go for convenience nowadays, the shallowness, and because it's cheaper as well. So so there's definitely that. Arcing back, I don't know if you have any more to say, but arcing back to literature now, just look at the trash that's being published nowadays and the books that win the awards. I mean, I've stopped looking at those badges on books in bookstores now. I've just stopped. I've given up. You know, this book won some kind of, you know, award and whatnot, and I've read so many now that I've just become disenchanted by this whole thing. Yeah, and I can see AI churning out crap like that easily, right? Easily.
Well, actually,
take
the interesting thing is, like, I was doing a bit more reading into this lately, and like, just to go into a bit of background about kind of publishing sci-fi fantasy, there's a big divide at the moment between and there has been for the last maybe 10, 15 years, between like traditional publishing and indie publishing. And traditional publishing is basically, you go down the route of one of your big publishing houses, like, you know, the Hachette's of the world, or, you know, HarperCollins, exactly, all of those guys. And they have their different kind of imprints, which is like their subdivisions for different genres and so on. And then in the 2010s, there was a huge boom in indie publishing, which is basically you publish your own stuff mostly through Amazon. You know, they've got most of the market. Some smaller players like Apple do their own stuff and that kind of thing. And that saw a huge boom. And again, the market kind of changed there because, you know, a lot of people got in the early days, and now the way that algorithm has changed on Amazon, for instance, you've got to pay a lot to advertise there. It's kind of shifted. And
that algorithm, the big tech controls. I hate the algorithm. My videos, it's just so hard for people to see my videos I'm creating, because the big guys are getting promoted. Yeah, but anyway.
But yeah, that's just kind of to give an idea of kind of where the market's at. And like, I'm very interested in indie publishing because, you know, you can retain a lot of your rights and so on.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of flexibility that you don't have otherwise, but obviously you don't have a lot of the stuff the trad publishers offer you, like the easy access to bookshops and kind of, you know, their own
your managers. Your managers, right?
Exactly.
And without a manager in this world of business,
you've got to make it yourself. Yeah.
So I mean, just look at indie. I mean, music. I know the music scene a little bit better than the literature scene, but any indie musician, it's impossible. Like, you know, you only hear about the people that make it because they've somehow managed. Like Sia she's Adelaide singer. I mean, she went indie for a while, but I mean, it's been so hard for her. So it must be the same for.
Yeah, it's kind of, you have to be lucky. You have to break through. and it's a tough market. And like, one of the interesting things I see is there is a huge kind of backlash within that community against AI, and it's kind of two fronts. One is kind of like a big area is kind of the artistry, so like things like cover art and so on, because a lot of people who are indie publishing, they like, the thing has been, there's kind of a whole ecosystem of artists who provide covers for books, like simple stuff like that. They might charge a couple of $100. It depends on what kind of quality you go for and so on. And obviously there's a temptation. Look, I can crank something out for free on AI, but it's very controversial. And partly because, it is using these artists' works as trained data. There's no kind of
topic,
and
there's lawsuits still going on. George R. Martin is going with other authors, and thank goodness he is, because he's the one who's got the money and can afford to take on these big guys.
That's the thing.
We don't stand a chance, but
that's it. I mean, so that's kind of the equivalent of like the George Clooney's or the Tom Cruises pushing back the movie industry. But the interesting thing I've seen actually is, in a very competitive environment, you can get kind of a lot of backbiting. You can get a lot of, people slinging mud. And an interesting thing I've seen is you get a lot of people throwing accusations that someone's using AI, even when they're not.
Oh, wow.
Because that's really damaging.
That's new. Holy moly. Yeah, wow.
So I read about one artist who, he did a series of book covers, and he submitted one of his pictures to an art competition, and it was rejected for being AI generated.
Yeah.
And he said, no, I put 100 hours into this.
Yeah, right.
And,
remember his name? I'll look him up.
I'll have to get it to you afterwards.
Yeah. Wow.
But, that was,
that's how good AI is. Now it's turned around. It's been flipped around.
So, and like an accusation like that can be very damaging in those kind of circles as well. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's hard to disprove it unless you show, look, here's my whole process.
These are my drafts.
Yeah. Or here's my contract with the real life artist and that kind of thing. Now in terms of actually like writing books, like the kind of fiction, like the sci-fi fantasy, it seems to be, AI isn't making a big inroad as far as I can see there just yet. But where it seems to be making huge inroads at the moment is in nonfiction. And you've got these people, there's this guy, his name is Tommy Pedruzzi. And what he's offering is, and it's hard to evaluate his claims because he doesn't publish books in his own name, I think. But he does these marketing courses kind of where he shows people how to just crank out books with AI. And what he claims is, he's published 1,500 books on Amazon. And he just takes a non-fiction topic and he tells like ChatGPT or whatever AI, whatever LLM he uses, write me a book on this topic.
Yeah.
And then, you stick it into your PDF or whatever, you get AI to generate a cover and up they go, and you can just flood the market with them.
So non-fiction.
Non-fiction, So it's like
from Wikipedia and all that. Just write a book. Yeah.
Generate 100 cookery books for you, that kind of thing. And I know, like, I was looking at
1,500 in a year.
I'm not sure if it was a year, but it's like maybe a year or 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, that's like a few a day. That's like sitting down and pumping out a few a day.
That's it. But it's all
just
all automated. And
I mean, imagine if even one or two of them sell big.
That's it.
Who cares, right?
So I think he claims to have made like $3 million or something like that from it. And I mean, if you divide that by 1,500, I mean, I suppose it's the usual thing. Probably some of them catch on, most of them don't. But
who cares? Like 3 million in a couple of years. Anyone would take that.
No, that's it. And but there's kind of another there's another issue that's kind of going on with certain other authors where they've started complaining that there are kind of these AI scammers. So these are like different people I'm talking about now. Who what they'll do is they will generate very similar books to books that are already published.
Right.
or they'll generate books and just stick the name of a famous author on it or an author in the area, or they do this other stuff where like they will do like an unofficial workbook or something like that kind of ties in with it. So again, I was reading up on some non-fiction authors who they publish in areas like kind of self-help kind of stuff, and then or psychology or kind of areas like that, and then someone kind of sees that they're trending and they'll publish a book saying, this is the unofficial companion to this, or this is the workbook, or they might even just sometimes they'll change the cover and change the title.
It's actually pretty clever, man. You got to give credit where credit's due. I mean, that's pretty. That's a hustle. That's a hustle and a half, man.
It's just the market forces at work.
Yeah, there are some clever people out there.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Like, it doesn't seem to have made huge inroads into fiction yet, but I can't see how it would be that far behind. And it's funny. Like, it makes me think of you would have read 1984.
Oh, yeah.
George Orwell. Do you remember there was a scene where they have these machines that are cranking out novels for like the poor people?
No,
remember this?
No, it's been too long.
Yeah, there's a part where they he's going through the Ministry of Truth or whatever, and he passes by the section where they kind of churn out the pulp novels, and there's a machine that they kind of, he's writing this in 1948, so this is before any kind of modern computer, but he has this idea of like, you have to turn these cranks to get the different tropes in there and, the different plot elements, so they kind of recombine them so they can just kind of crank out books that are...
That sounds like an LLM today.
Exactly, yeah.
Sounds like an LLM
so
today.
I think it's kind of not far away that you get that, and I do worry it's going to be kind of like the... You'll have the artisan books that are written by humans, and then you'll kind of have the people looking for like kind of a cheap read, airport kind of.
I can see that. Like I'm repeating myself. I can see though the cheap. I mean, it's just like girl falls in love with guy does something, girl breaks girl's heart, something happens, finds another perfect guy, realizes she learned a lot from the first relationship. They get married with happily ever after. I mean, you can write.
It's a formula.
Yeah. It's all formula. So yeah, I can see that happening.
And again, kind of like the video editing, like I could see maybe authors using AI, like if they have a bit more editorial input into it to kind of stitch stuff together, and use it, because I suppose people are kind of trying to save themselves the work. Because I mean, one of the interesting things about kind of the indie publishing scene is that the big players, if they want to stay afloat, it's very different from trad publishing. They have to like get a novel out every 6 to 8 weeks.
The trad publishers?
No, the indie publishers. So if you're running your own business, if it's just you publishing yourself and you're selling to this market, the successful ones say you need to be getting a book out every 6 to 8 months.
That's impossible.
And it's like now they're shorter. Like they're almost.
Why is that? Why every 6 months is crazy? Why is that? Just to keep the money coming?
Not 6 months, like 6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks.
Yeah. And they're just kind of, it's like a hamster wheel. You just got to keep getting them out, because again, it's a very different market. It's not like kind of the more traditional sci-fi fantasy market where you got kind of longer books. It's people who are looking for kind of shorter fiction. So it's kind of almost more like slightly longer than novella length.
So we're getting into the TikTok phase in book writing.
It's maybe I need to read more of it to kind of see.
Yeah. Then again, like you hear about old authors, even Dostoevsky had to go through this phase where he was forced to churn out serialized books as quickly as possible. He needed the coin, he needed the money. So that's a perennial problem for writers. But 6 to 8 weeks for a good, decent book, that's not a lot, man. Like, it takes so much time to polish something up, to even think of something. I mean, you tell me, but when you write something like a song or whatever, you gotta process experience, and you gotta put your soul into it and make sure everything like kind of goes from beginning to end, has progression and beauty all the way through.
Yeah.
You can't just artificially stick something if you want to be proud of what you're doing. It's got to be the same as writing.
So yeah, like I said, I need to kind of read a bit more and see. But I think it is kind of people who are on this hamster wheel if they need to keep it going, if they want to kind of keep making the living.
And hence why you're an aspiring writer and not an actual writer, because no one.
That's it.
There we go. We've reached the crux of the problem. No one can churn out 6.
But that's why
do it full time.
I can see it'd be tempting. You could see a
That
writer
would be
that
tempting.
maybe has done 6, 7, 8 novels in a particular universe. You could use that. You could feed that into your LLM and say, look, write the next story in this universe, and then you're editing it for continuity.
Or even
a touch of that.
you write the first paragraph of each chapter, and then the LLM can grasp the story arc, and it just fills it all in, and you're done.
Yeah,
And you're done. Yeah.
so I
With lots of M dashes everywhere for this AI generated, right?
that's it. It's but it's interesting, like kind of for example, on the kind of AI art stuff, the cover art, I recently heard, Brandon Sanderson, he weighed in on that as well. He was asked a question about that, and he said he was trying to be neutral about it, but he wasn't really. He really went to town on kind of the AI companies kind of just taking these artists' work.
Well, they've stolen it. They've stolen it and made money. You can't. I mean, frame it. I mean, you're a lawyer, right? But frame it all you want. You've stolen it. You've trained something up, and now you're making money off the other people's work.
It's be interesting to see how the lawsuits pan out.
Oh man, these big tech companies, they're gonna run away with it. There's no, I'm not. And what are you gonna do? They're gonna pay out, and they're still gonna have their LLMs, right? So
yeah. It's the other thing Sanderson said was there's issues with the copyright as well. So if you generate your own AI images, there's a question mark of, look, do you own the copyright to this cover art you've just made for your own book? There's a big controversy with even one of the trad publishers, one of the big publishers. There was a book that came out in, do you know the Malazan fantasy series? There was one of the books came out. It was actually 3 years ago at this stage. So it was really early AI image generation. And, they still haven't come out and said, as far as I can see, whether or not it actually was AI generated, but there were a lot of fans said this cover looks like, it was kind of like the early images you would have got from, was it like DALL-E and kind of the early...
In the early days, you could tell. Right?
And basically this cover, a lot of fans said, this looks like AI, but you've photoshopped in, there's a compass and a telescope you've photoshopped in to make it look less AI. And I don't think they came out and confirmed one way or another, but people pointed out there was no artist credited on the book cover as well. Yeah. So I haven't seen much of that since from the trad publishing. I think it got a lot of backlash. So maybe, and again, like I said, they haven't kind of come out and said it was AI, but and it would be much harder to tell nowadays,
Yeah, totally, yeah.
But maybe that'd be kind of a telltale, if there's no copyrighted artist,
Yeah.
So it'll just be interesting to see where it goes. Like I said, I'm way behind. I need to write more. I need to actually follow the advice and have a product before I start worrying about the market.
Yeah.
But it's the thing I'm keeping an eye on. Yeah.
I mean, we can philosophize all we want. Yeah.
But it's just kind of a thing. But you do see lots of different interesting applications. I mentioned the blogger Steve Skojak earlier. He did a thing where he got AI to produce coloring books for kids, and it was kind of just as a side number to earn a bit of money. And
that's another great idea.
That's something where he does
a great idea. Yeah.
He does he tells it here's coloring robots, and he generates 60 images of robots, and you need that human editing to know which ones do you toss in the bin and which ones are good enough to actually put in. But then you can do that without having the artistic skill, and you can have a coloring book you can sell. And I think with all these things you do still need that human input to make sure it's still working, make sure the vending machine isn't buying tungsten cubes because
I like the reference. That's referencing Anthropic's experiment, one of the videos that I made on that was the vibe management.
that's
Yeah.
that's still my favorite.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
So basically, AI writing slop, very much possible.
yeah.
Depend in the indie scene, definitely the trad publishing scene. We'll see how it goes. I probably won't. There's be too much pushback, I think, on the trad scene. But writing good, solid works of art, a machine's not going to be able to do that. You don't think that's...
Yeah, I think with anything good, you're at the very least you're gonna need a human shepherding it. I think that's what I've seen. And I think like if everyone starts to rely on AI to generate, their writing, I can only see it becoming stagnant because the AI is basing itself on training data, and it's just going to be the same stuff over and over recycled unless you get new training data, unless there's new kind of good stuff going in there. And I think the thing, like, I've seen people warn about, I think it's very true. Like if you're relying on AI to do the writing for you, like writing is a skill, you're not honing it yourself. You're not kind of constantly refining your craft. And I think if you want to be very good at writing, that's something you've got to do,
Yeah.
But I think definitely.
So let's say let's use Charles Dickens as an example here. Whenever I read that guy, he's one of my favorite authors. And there are some times where I read a paragraph and I just put the book down and I just went like, that went into the depths of my soul. Like, it was just even 2 sentences. And it's like, how do you manage to stitch words together and have such a profound effect on me? That's like me. That's like him reaching to his soul and planting something into my soul. AI can imitate that.
Yeah.
But there's absolutely no way that you'll convince me that a machine operating on the level of data, one-dimensional data that has passed through the filtering of being translated, words being translated to ones and zeros, mathematics being operated on these ones and zeros, and these ones and zeros come out and words enter onto a page. There's no way that you'll convince me that process is going to enter my soul as much as what Charles Dickens does to me, or any of the other great writers.
Yeah, I find it hard to see it breaking new ground.
Yeah.
Obviously there's a lot to kind of draw on in what humans have.
Yeah, it takes a human to understand another human.
Yeah.
Right? And I've used this quote before in the previous recording, but I always tell my students, machines operate on the level of knowledge. We operate on the level of knowledge and understanding.
Yeah.
Right? And if you create writing or music or AI slop or AI Netflix series on the level of knowledge, it can be very good because knowledge is still good. But if you want to go deeper, absolutely no way. Absolutely no way. Like the human spirit cuts through the one dimensionality, cuts through data, cuts through the empirical world, and goes into the higher dimensions of our existence that machines just can't enter. So
yeah.
I'll
be choosing my Dickens over my
I mean totally right, like
GPT.
Totally. Yeah. The other thing that you were talking about is we're relying more and more on ChatGPT in a lot of things, and this is something that I've talked to with my students. I lament their situation because, I mean, if I were in their shoes, I'd be using ChatGPT to write all my assignments, to write all my reports as well, because it's just so much easier. I'd rather be doing fun stuff like playing football out in the park. But there comes a time where you realize that they're losing the chance to become good writers. They're losing the chance to hone in on their writing skills, and we'll be losing good authors I think.
Yeah.
Like it's possible that the future Shakespeare just won't arise because this person just won't get into the zone of writing, and will, outsource it to ChatGPT. And his talents just won't get noticed. He won't notice those talents himself, and they'll just die. They'll wither. They won't flourish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. And
it's heartbreaking in a way. It's heartbreaking, right? It's heartbreaking because it's an art. It's a skill. Kieran O'Reilly, who I interviewed previously, he said it's a form of catharsis as well. That's gonna kill us. Like we're already lonely because of technology. We use, some people like Kieran, he uses music as a form of catharsis, get rid of all of that pent up anger and emotions, and now we're losing the ability to write, right? To get rid of all of that stuff. Like, wow, our human spirit is really getting pummeled by technology in a way nowadays. Like, social media, look how that, it's giving the impression of nearness, whereas, what kind of nearness are we getting with social media? But
yeah, that's funny. It makes me think of, I saw this Futurama clip recently where there's like this guy who invents a robot to do all the stuff that he should be doing, like taking care of his kid and hanging out with his wife and
Neo,
all that kind of.
There's a robot that was advertised. I don't know if you've seen the commercial, but there's a robot being advertised now, that Neo, that does that. I reckon it's all hype. That's got flop, but go on. Sorry,
but this guy, at the very end of the clip, it's kind of like he's realizing how much he's missed out on in his life. And the last instruction he gives to the robot is, can you feel this for me? Can you feel this pain? And then the robot's kind of like gasping in pain at all the things this dude has met while he's having a drink and reading a book.
Yeah.
It's that's kind of the whole process.
We forget, we
outsource.
As in philosophy, we say we're anthropomorphizing AI. We forget that AI is imitating rather than actually being intelligent, rather than actually, which is a shame. Which is a shame. I mean, I swear half of this stuff is just hype, and I reckon it'll die down sooner or later. You just can't anthropomorphize ChatGPT to the end. Things so stupid. Even now, right? It's soulless, right? And it always will be. It's going to get better and better at imitating, but the healthy people out there will see through that. Yeah. Yeah,
but until then,
yeah. I mean, it's exciting. I love this. I mean, I got involved in AI in 2004, and I've never looked back. That was my honors project. I had to do a soccer playing robot, and that was it. I went and did a PhD, and I've been researching and teaching and that stuff. And I love AI. I love all my little gadgets, but you have to have a healthy distance, healthy relation, a healthy perception of what this stuff is. Yeah.
The latest thing I saw today is an AI powered robot that figures out how to fold your laundry.
Oh yeah, that's been around for a while. Yeah. So like I said, Neo is this thing that people are gone crazy about. There's been a commercial that's been released. I mean, goodness knows what. It's hype.
Is that deliberately named after Neo from the Matrix?
Yes, of course it is. Of course it is. They're riding the hype train. Like the first company that gets a video out like this are gonna make the big waves. Any other company that follows now, no one's gonna take notice. So this has made the rounds on YouTube. But guess how much they're charging for this robot?
I'm guessing it's not cheap.
Nah, 20 grand. US, 20 grand US. Like, come on, man. I'd rather buy a car for that. Like, no way, man. No way. And you watch it. And the other thing is that, it's not automated fully yet. So what happens is that there's a telemarketer or teleprompter. I don't know what the correct term is, looking through the cameras and helping it to do the chores at the same time. Like, come on, man. Would you let something like that? Like, you got kids around the house. Imagine someone from another country looking through a camera and folding it while there's kids running. Yeah. Come on, man. That's creepy.
It's the privacy is something else on these things.
Yeah. Anyway, let's circle back to writing. why are you choosing to write sci-fi?
Ooh, that's
I'm not a big fan of sci-fi. I love fantasy. I've never been hooked on the sci-fi. I kind of feel like I've grown out of it. No offense. But I mean, there's great sci-fi books. Ender's Game is maybe my favorite.
Yeah, I think I'm with you there.
Yeah.
I know.
Foundation by Isaac Asimov, like sensational. But I just won't pick up a book.
Yeah, and
fantasy on it.
I suppose I would say I'm big into fantasy as well.
Yeah,
like it's kind of both and.
So why
sci-fi?
Why sci-fi?
I've always, like, for a very long time, wanted to be a writer. That's kind of going back to reading Roald Dahl when I was like 6.
He was my favorite.
Yeah,
6. Oh man, he was my favorite when I was 10. Is that too well?
No, that's allowed. There's he writes a lot of stuff for older people as well. But I think sci-fi, I think the other big kind of formative thing for me was just Star Wars. I watched that so much.
Yeah.
And I had the original, I think it was the original theatrical release on VHS, the last time they issued that before they made the complete shift to the special edition with all the extra CGI and all that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah, I know nothing about
yeah. Yeah. And I used to just watch those all the time. So the kind of so I suppose it's kind of a combination of always wanting to be a storyteller, but like it was kind of the sci-fi stories like that and the fantasy stories as well that just had a big really big influence. So I'm interested in writing fantasy as well.
Yeah.
And but I think kind of both those genres, like, they're very closely related. It'll be the same publishers kind of putting them out.
Yeah.
The same, in terms of indie publishing, it's the same kind of broad area, the broad niche. But that's
it's a good tool for storytelling, isn't it? It masquerades as, fantasy world, but you can really chock it full of messages.
Yeah, and
really
I think
can.
Like I did English lit in college. I remember we had to do theories of literature, and some of it's the usual English lit stuff like Freudianism and Marxism and so on. But like there are some really interesting kind of the earlier critics that tried to grapple with what art is. And I remember there was the formalist school, and they had this line: the purpose of art is to like make the stones stony again, so that like make you really look at things again in a fresh light.
Yeah.
So like you see stones around you in nature and you don't think,
you
don't have a second thought about them after you kind of get out of childhood. And the idea is like, let's look at this again in a new way. And I think
like painting. Painting does the exact same thing.
Yeah.
You paint a certain thing, you want it to focus on something.
Exactly. That you wouldn't focus on otherwise.
No, yeah.
And I think it's the same in science fiction and fantasy. It can kind of come at different societal issues from a very different kind of place, or very different angle. And I think part of it is as well is just it can be a bit perfectionist, and the idea of setting a story in the real world, I think I'd be too worried about getting details wrong. Like that's why I'd almost be paralyzed trying to write kind of something like historical fiction, because I'm wondering, have I researched enough? Have I read enough about this period to actually pull it off? Or even something kind of set, the contemporary world if we're in another country, or like I wouldn't feel I knew it well enough. Whereas science fiction and fantasy, the world's inside my own head. So people can point out inconsistencies, or they can point out something that isn't great, but no one can say, oh, that didn't really happen, or it doesn't really work like that. It's, cause it's me making it up and deciding what needs to be focused on,
Yeah.
So that's, and I just enjoy the creativity of creating kind of.
That's a big part, isn't it? The creativity is a huge aspect of it, that you can be a part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Like I have kind of, even since college, very much tried to kind of go back and read a lot of the classics as well, because I think you really need to read outside your genre and really kind of, get to grips with like the greatest writers, whatever genre they're in. So
There's some geniuses out there, yeah.
like Bleak House is on my list to read soon as well. Speaking of Dickens.
Oh, Dickens, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I should know that. I didn't, yeah.
It's one of his massive ones. In fact, like speaking of kind of people's reading, I read about this study recently where they did a study of kind of American, I think it was high school students, or it might have been kind of first year college students. Can't remember exactly which now, but like they gave them like the first page or 2 pages of Dickens' Bleak House just to see their reading comprehension with that density of language. And like most people didn't get it.
They flopped, yeah, for sure.
Like there was even one person who thought it was about a dinosaur going through London.
Yeah, right.
Because
that's all they've been exposed to. So
it's,
how old were these kids?
I need to look at it again, but
High school?
I think they were either high school or just starting college.
Yeah.
That kind of age.
Starting college.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
But it's, so I don't think that's just an AI problem. There's like problems with kind of education more broadly around the world.
Yeah. I mean, in fairness, I wouldn't have got Dickens in high school. I wasn't that developed emotionally and intellectually to get Dickens that early. But I'm going to blame it on the Australian education system. I should have been. I developed those skills later. So
I mean, I think I'd be the same. Like I wouldn't have got into it in the same way. Like we did do a bit of Joyce, which was pretty good in secondary school. But I think like all these problems, like you say, LLMs are going to make them worse because you're not reading the stuff, you're asking it to summarize it for class. You're not writing the stuff, you're asking it to write it for you.
It's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking that's what's happening. It really is, yeah. It's actually heartbreaking because, they're just being devoid of these beautiful worlds. They're not gonna be able to, and then that's gonna, obviously these worlds, these works, they form you, right? And then you become an adult, and you become a politician, and suddenly you're a politician devoid of any kind of culture. And suddenly you rule a country or rule a nation. And, well, maybe that's what's happening in today's world now. But the politician's devoid of any culture. But yeah. Yeah, there are some great writers, unbelievable writers. Like anyone, and this is why, another reason why I think people are hyping up AI so much is that they themselves haven't been exposed to these great works, these great and understood them, like these great works of either literature or art, and they've never felt what the human spirit can achieve, and hence why they do think that AI can supersede us in everything, in every possible thing, and it's heartbreaking that's the case, but yeah, like even, I was talking to Kieran O'Reilly yesterday, and he's like, nah, man, like I'm not letting AI touch any of my works. I'm not letting it do that. And I'm like, yeah, that's it. That's the human spirit. See, we are unique creatures.
That's it. I think you see that kind of resistance that in any of these arts, you do get that backlash. You do get that kind of pushing back.
Yeah.
And I think the thing that
there will always be a pushback sooner or later.
I think the thing that's standing on the other side is, I suppose, money and profit. And can we turn a quick buck by, cutting out the authors and cutting out the screenwriters and cutting out
there's always
actors.
We see that with big tech now, with the way that, I don't want to use the term, but NSHIT-fication, with all these things, like these products that have fallen for that, into that process. Initially they were great, and now suddenly this money's changing all these things, and people are pushing back. They do want more. They don't want to be immersed in this entification, let's call it, so I don't get bleaked out by the YouTube algorithm. Yeah, good. All right. I'm going to ask you just to end. It's been a great chat. Thank you.
No, not at all.
For offering to do this. When you were growing up and aspiring to be a writer, we'll end on a light note. Did you ever dream about what AI would be like, say in today, 2020, 2025, 2030? Did you ever sort of sit there and go, oh, wow, this is what's going to happen?
I definitely think I had some story as a small kid, some sci-fi story about the machines coming for us. So I think that was that was about the extent of it.
What year?
Oh,
see if you were prophetic as a kid.
Yeah. I think it was probably when I was like 12 or something like that. But
what year did you predict that machines were gonna?
Oh, this was like far future stuff. So
2100s,
like way past that. Yeah. It wasn't anything. Like even writing sci-fi, I've always wanted to put it way far in the future so that you don't have to worry about kind of fitting it in with the present timeline, that kind of a way.
Yeah.
But I think that I probably, like when I was a kid, I copied all my ideas from other stuff. It's what you do when you're writing as a kid. And I'm fairly certain
and all that.
I probably came across it in like a video game or something.
Yeah.
But,
okay. And if you as a kid back then would see AI now, what would you kind of think?
I mean, I think
it is pretty intelligent.
Yeah.
I hate using the word intelligence. It's such a loaded term. It is such a loaded term, and it's being misused and abused in today. But we'll call it, intelligence.
I think even as a kid, I would have been fascinated by the same thing that still kind of gets me now, which is a lot of, I suppose, a lot of the AI generated art and landscapes and kind of there's a lot of kind of science fictional art. I think a lot of it's interesting because it's mashing together different elements that, a human wouldn't necessarily have thought to mash together. And that does make it very new.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a pastiche.
Like a unicorn ogre or something. something like that. No human would think of that, but AI is capable of that. Right?
That's it. And it's so I kind of, I think the art would have fascinated me. And then you do get people who kind of, and again, I know
it is amazing.
It is. I know this is AI slop, but you see people like, on the wilderness that is modern Facebook, kind of, they'll post their collection of they'll kind of maybe create a series of prompts and try to create an aesthetic for a sci-fi world, I saw one today where this guy was trying to do all of these different scenes with people and places and, but with this kind of aesthetic of this kind of country or this kind of cult that had the sun as its symbol and kind of different, kind of like a dark toned palette. And it was, it was interesting just to see all the different kind of permutations of that. And some of it's very weird and some of it's obviously very inhuman, but then you also get some pictures where it kind of comes together well.
Every now and then it gets it right.
Yeah, exactly.
You roll the dice and every now and then it's going to get it right.
And that's why I think when it comes to AI movie making, that kind of thing, you still need that human element there.
Yeah.
But it's just to kind of stitch it together and to pick the good bits.
Yeah. And of course, if you're a big tech company, you're going to hone in on that one image or whatever, and then project it and say, this is our product. Whereas you the whole, that's what's happening.
And actually,
bigger picture.
One thing I've read about, I talked about a lot of the non-fiction books that have been put out, and Amazon does ask, that a human at least edits the whole thing. But I've seen some hypothetical concerns raised, if it's not properly edited or someone doesn't have the skill, say, I've seen one critic say, what if someone does a guide to, collecting mushrooms for cooking, and, AIs, LLMs hallucinate, they could tell you the wrong thing completely.
Yep.
And if someone...
There was a massive case about mushrooms.
I saw that. Yeah.
My city of Adelaide in South Australia. I mean, it captured the state, in the nation, in fact.
Yeah. Well, I was reading about that here as well. Yeah. That was global, but it was, you could get someone who picks up a guide like that or a guide how to cook certain things and gets food poisoning because they don't, you can crank out loads of books, but like, unless you kind of a human editing it all and kind of going through the steps, it's, there's things the AI is going to get wrong, and, yourself, there's the classic response, of, oh, sorry, did you actually mean, that kind of
certainly. Yeah. It's always going to be a soulless machine. Always.
It's
always.
It's very confident soulless machine.
Sycophantic is the term that is used in the industry. All right. Well, thank you very much.
No, not at all.
Once again, thanks for listening, guys. Stay tuned for more.